Hello! It is a Tuesday, which of course means it's time for another in real life video. And this week, we're kind of continuing what we had done before. We're doing something somewhat topically inspired by recent discourse and things that were being spoken about in video games, especially in our wheelhouse. But we'll try and spin it out to where it's more applicable in less specific circumstances, right? But nonetheless, don't let that stop you from submitting any sort of requests or questions for future IRL videos. I've got a big list. I got a big document that I keep adding to it. Feel free to submit any of those things if you'd like, and it helps me a ton personally if you include like a question mark inside of the comment, because lets me control F and search through stuff and all that good stuff. Nonetheless, this week we're talking about some of the purported news coming out about the Fallout TV show. That being the fact that they allege, right? We'll see if it pans out that way. But they have alleged that the television show is taking what I've heard it referred to as sounds very weird, but they call it a fog of war approach or something like that. Which isn't really what I would call it, but sure, go off. But they are not committing to a canon ending for Fallout New Vegas. We will, given the nature of this, like I said, I'm going to try and make it less specific, but we will have to touch on some measure of spoilers for Fallout New Vegas. So if you're worried about that, you may want to check out of this video. Regardless, there are several different endings, that being major ones wherein you align yourself with a faction or you don't. There are also other little permutations around those larger endings, like, oh, did you have good karma, bad karma, neutral karma? How did you treat these smaller factions? If there are two different factions active at the same time, sometimes they interact, right? If you chose to side with like the NCR, but you decided to so sometimes if you decide to side with NCR, sometimes that changes things with how it plays out in another location, right? Where it's a smaller settlement or a smaller faction, you know? Sometimes it alters the ending slide, I'll say. With the Fallout TV show, a lot of people had been speculating that the ending that they went with was the house always wins, which, I don't know, you don't have to be a neurosurgeon to know what that's referring to. It means that Robert House wins effectively the game. That's his ending. That is mainly because it really seems like Robert House is going to be alive post-war, and Fallout show season 2 takes place after the events of all of the games so far, which would mean, because every other ending that you could go with necessitates the fact that you would have to kill that guy, right? He would have to be dead. I believe the same goes for the Securitron Mark II upgrades. I think so. That may just be scuttlebutt. I can't remember for certain, but I think so. That you only get the Mark II upgrades. Well, no, because you can totally get the Mark II upgrades if you go independent Vegas, right? Yeah, but I think no matter what, the only scenario in which Robert House is still alive, is if you go with his ending. Mind you, there could be, like I'd said before, they could be lying by omission, right? It could be the fact that he is actually dead, but he's a different state of being alive, right? He possibly could have like uploaded his consciousness into like some sort of machine, you know? Stranger things have happened in Fallout world building and lore. It may also be the fact that they have committed to this ending and they're being deliberately I don't know, dubious about some of the other facts that they're handing out, because they figure, oh, some people will not like the fact that we have committed to a specific ending, which is the sort of fulcrum of what I'm getting to with this video. And that is the people who would not like them to commit to a specific ending. I think that that is stupid. Let me just get that straight out of the way. I think if you have a desire for them to not commit to any ending from Fallout New Vegas, I think you are weak. I think you are weak and you need to get out, right? People, good writing enjoyers, when suddenly they're faced with the consequences of their decisions or someone's decisions, right? Suddenly, oh, I love good writing, but then you can't commit to a proper ending, a proper canon to carry on with further installments of the work, of the art, right? I think it's, I dislike how much I've seen of people appreciating the fact that they've said that they want to go with a non-canon ending, right? I think it's way too easy of a way out. I want it to be dirty and complicated. I want it to step on toes and for people to be like, oh, what if there was a world in which Robert House did win, or in which the Caesar's Legion did win, or the NCR did? Oh, what if there was a world in which it was an independent Vegas or whatever? I want people to have those what ifs, and I want them to even go so far as to express that sort of wishful thinking. Express it in doing a mod if you wish, right? But I think it holds back the storytelling. It holds back the art form to be so non-committal. It strikes me as so ludicrously, like, infantile, right? Like, if we want video games to be taken very seriously, I know it's a medium with player agency and all of that, but I do think it's a good thing to right, when you have multiple endings, it's a good thing to commit to a canonical ending. I don't think you always have to do that, but I think generally I want you to do it more often than not, right? I think there are sometimes you get away with it, right? Case in point, The Elder Scrolls has, like, maybe the most famous or infamous, however you view it, way of handling it, that being with the Dragon Break. After the events of Daggerfall, they make every single ending canon simultaneously. But I would say that sort of the metaphysics present within that world lends itself to make it a natural fit that you would have such a ridiculous, absurd stunt wherein every single ending is canon. I don't mind it so much there, right? There are other situations in which other games, other worlds could pull off something similar, in which there's some sort of metaphysics at play. You know, there's some sort of situation in which you're bending time, you're bending space and time, and you can have your cake and eat it too. I think it works, and I think it just works in that situation because it plays into some of the concepts already introduced by that world, that being able to bend space and time at some points, right? Having it all sort of being in flux. It functions in tandem with it. It doesn't detract from it. It makes it seem a little bit cooler and more mysterious and more ephemeral. I like it in that sense. Fallout, as far as we know, doesn't have that, right? There's some weird kooky stuff every so often, but as far as we know, most of that takes a bit of a back seat, certainly with respects to this, what we're talking about with, like, the fate of Vegas. But I think it's a huge missed opportunity, and I hate it. I hate the idea that we don't have the guts to commit to something because we're afraid that it's going to make some people a little upset, right? It reads as so juvenile. I think we gotta get over it and just be like, well, this is the world in which this happened. We can still, right? If for instance, there is commitment to a canonical Robert House always wins ending. We can still appreciate the writing that existed, all of the work that existed in the video game Fallout New Vegas for every other ending, right? We can appreciate all of those characters and the way all of those actions played out in that specific way for those specific endings. That's still appreciable and still exists within that piece of art. Within Fallout New Vegas. It exists there forever, right? But I think you are doing a huge disservice by saying, oh, I want mine to be the way it went. I want them all to be possible, right? It's so silly to me. It's so, like, it reads as so juvenile, as so non-committal. Have some guts with your storytelling, I feel, right? I dislike the notion of trying to have your cake and eat it here too. And like I said, this isn't necessarily a qualm with the show, right? This isn't to say that the show is bad for having done this. I am saying that it is bad that we're in such a state with storytelling in video games, with this purported medium that we want to try to refer to as art, where we're afraid, right? Where we're afraid to step on toes like that because it's not going to get enough viewership. It's not going to get enough sales for the next game. Are we making a product or are we making art, right? Get a grip, you know? Let's get a hold of ourselves here and understand, what are we trying to do? So be it. If we want to make a product, I guess so be it. Screw it. Let's have a spin-off of everything wherein, oh, there's another one wherein there's another game for every different ending, right? Let's just cash in as much as we possibly can. Let's get 2 Elder Scrolls 6s, right? We'll get Elder Scrolls 6 Red and Elder Scrolls 6 Blue, one in which the Imperial Legion won and the other in which the Stormcloaks won. And there's 2 different ones with slight differences, right? We'll cash in that way, you know? If it's good enough for Game Freak, it's good enough for us, right? I really am saddened by seeing how many people wanted it to be so milquetoast and inoffensive. I don't. It's the opposite of daring. It's playing it way too safe, right? You're not taking a gamble. There's no risk. There's no fun to it, for me at least. Like I said, it's more so. My qualm is with the idea itself, not the fact that they may or may not be committing to such a thing. Because in the past, there's been degrees of what would you say, deception. There's been degrees of deception when it comes to how they're fuddling around with canon and whatnot. And at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it other than I think it's bad. I think it's bad to do that. And like I said, I don't think it necessarily means that going one way or the other directly means that, like, that work, which is choosing to adhere to a specific canon or not, is going to turn out to be poorly made. You know, I think you can have something that's well made either way. This is just merely expressing my sort of opinion on the matter, that I think it's weak and cowardly. Right? That's sort of where I'm coming from, is that I think it's weak. It's awful. I don't like it. But you can still have something that tells a good story or tiptoes around it, you know? But I don't know. At a certain point, I think and I wonder if we're going to bother to set it in New Vegas, but we don't want to commit to a canonical ending. Like, what are we doing, right? We just want the trappings and all of that. Are we actually interested in advancing the world building? You know, people always complain about how the East Coast of Fallout and all of that stays kind of like stuck in time and there's no progress. But then a lot of those same people were worried that, oh, they're going to not pick the New Vegas ending that I like. Come on, man. Come on. Let's just commit to one or fuck off. Right? Come on, dude. I can't help but think back to what BGS specifically did with Morrowind. I actually really liked what they did to Morrowind. This reeks of a similar stench to me, wherein in the Dragonborn DLC, you look over at Morrowind and you hear all this stuff about how Vardenfell is like completely annihilated thanks to the eruption of Red Mountain and the crashing of Bardal into Vivek City and the boiling of that body of water there, and it's just a whole nightmare. I love that. I love that. It's fantastic. I think it's great as hell. Morrowind's literally one of my favorites. All right. One of my favorites is probably the wrong way to word it. It's my most important Elder Scrolls game in that it's the one that sort of jump-started this YouTube channel, my coverage and talking and all of that of Morrowind. And also it's important to me on just a personal level because it's the Elder Scrolls game that got me into Elder Scrolls. And yet I love that they destroyed it. I love that. I think it's so cool and gutsy. And this is the opposite of that. This is kowtowing to those who dare to not think dangerously. Those who dare not to be brave. Those who are cowards. You're kowtowing to the cowards. That's all I got to say about it. Right? There's been a few other folks. I think I just saw what's his name, Nywall, put up a little short. I haven't watched it yet because I didn't want to like paint my own views on the topic. Where the title was something in a similar vein. But otherwise, I've seen very little people have qualms with this, and I don't know. I'm surprised by that. And like I said, I think it's weak. I think it's weak to not want to commit to something. I think it's way cooler and way better to commit to a specific canon if we want this to be a body of work wherein every future iteration builds upon what came before. Otherwise, you're stuck sort of like tiptoeing around this stuff and you can never touch it again and have fun with it, right? Who cares if you mess it up now, because in the future, maybe someone will do something even cooler or more exciting with it and make it be redeemed or whatever, or bring it back from the brink of death. Not committing to an ending, I think it's cowardly. It's cowardly. All right. That ought to do it for this week. I really wanted to talk about this on a very personal level, just to get it off my chest. Obviously, as you can tell, I have a lot of conviction about it. I think that ought to do it. This week as well, there will be another IRL video. It will be a watch-along for the Game Awards. We're finally going to find out about that statue, though I'm pretty sure it's already out there, the information, and it has a little something to do with Divinity Original Sin, huh? There's been some trademark stuff. But nonetheless, there's a bunch of cool things that will be unveiled, and we'll see some amazing ads, and maybe Claire Obscure Expedition 33 will do a big sweep. Who can say? Probably they will. Hopefully. Anyway, that ought to do it for this week. Till next time, please take care of each other.